It's inevitable that we will face challenges, difficulties, hardships. It's just a part of life. And in fact, when we look at it and things that we've already been looking at, we see that the challenges we face are the things that build us and create strength and endurance that actually fashion and shape the character of God within us. And it is so common and easy to say, no, I don't want to have to deal with this hard stuff. I don't want to do that. And I understand that completely. And I think we all know what that's like. But God wants us to have a perspective that sees beyond here and now. He wants to see into the future. He wants us to see that He's actually creating and doing something. Remember, we read in Hebrews 12 that no chastening in this moment seems joyous, but rather painful, grievous. It's a perspective that sees beyond here and now. So we're going to look at another one that's in the book of James. In James chapter 1, we're going to read verse 2. And this is in the New King James. He says, "My brothers, count it all joy when you fall into various trials." Verse 3, "knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience." Verse 4, "but let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing." And I like those verses, those three verses, because James is telling us something and showing us something. But the first thing he says is to count it all joy when you fall into various trials, testings, provings. I don't think that's usually our first response. It's not always mine. It's not always been. There's something he's telling us here. How do I count it joy when it's something I don't want or something that's difficult and hard? I want to read this from another version. I sometimes look at different versions because they help to share, provide some different insight. And this is from one that's called the Passion. And you can read about the Passion translation. It's not supposed to be a literal translation, which I don't want to get into translations, but translations to take one language and put it into a different language. In this case, from the Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic into English. All right, so James chapter 1, verse 2. "My fellow believers, when it seems as though you are facing nothing but difficulties, see it as an invaluable opportunity to experience the greatest joy that you can." When I read that, that's just verse 2. When I read that here in the Passion Translation, it gave me a little pause to stop and think about, what is James trying to tell us? What is he getting at? And in this one, he's telling us to adopt a different perspective. When it seems like everything I'm doing is just difficulty, hardship, challenge, it's something I don't want, it's so trying and difficult, when it seems that's all it is, he says, shift your perspective, shift the way you see it. And see it, he says, see it as an opportunity to experience the greatest joy you've ever known. How can the trial, the hardship, the difficulty be something that's joyous? It's not the hardship that's joyous. It's what's produced out of it. Remember, as we read on in verse 3 and 4, he said that you will be made perfect. Your faith is perfected and you are perfected. And that's what even in this version he goes on and he says that. So the shift is to realize that a challenge and a hardship is an opportunity. In that opportunity, my weakness is being strengthened by my Father. He is taking me forward in endurance and patience to be more than I am right now. And when I see it this way, the opportunity that is before me, that there is joy, true oneness and fellowship with God that is to be learned through this, how do I look at it with the same type of discouragement and despair that I would have if I didn't shift my perspective to see it as the route to which I am being made perfect? And that's what James is telling us. That's how we count it all joy. We realize the joy is in what he is fashioning and forming through this challenge, through this difficulty.